In painting, I'm always telling my students to really step back and critique their own work, to really see what's working and what's not. But sometimes it is really hard for me to follow my own advice. It's funny how easy it is to give advice and how hard it is to take it. I've realized that we all learn most when we see what we're doing wrong, not when someone else points it out. And yet, most of us avoid that moment at all costs. Even in my own life, I'm really comfortable assessing my own work and figuring out, all right, exactly what are the differences between my painting in progress and the vision that I have for that piece, or the kind of art that inspired it. But when it comes to something that I'm a little bit less experienced in, like dancing, which is my hobby, I avoid doing this exact thing. Why do we do this? Well, I guess it's pretty simple. It's hard to watch yourself mess up. It feels really personal. It's cringy. In painting, I see this all the time. Students hesitate to step back or take a fresh look at their work because they're afraid of what they'll see. They might even be afraid to post their work side by side with their inspiration when they want my feedback. And I get it, because when I dance, I know I should record myself and watch it back, but I really don't want to. Even when I've gone to a competition and I'm literally being judged, and I have friends or family recording video for me, and so I don't even have to take the step of recording it, I will resist watching it at all costs. I'd rather feel like I'm doing well, just on my own, rather than actually have to see not even my mistakes, just what it really looks like on video. Really, what this comes down to is the emotions that come up for us when we're still learning something. It is really vulnerable. Learning how to put your soul onto canvas or move your body across a dance floor, it opens us up to a flood of possible criticism. Heck, there is a reason why I just posted stock footage of dancing on screen versus including a clip of me actually dancing in this video. But here's the problem with that. If someone just tells you something is wrong, but you can't see it for yourself, it doesn't really feel real. It feels arbitrary. So if my dance partner suggests that I keep my shoulder from creeping up in a certain step, I think of it as just one more thing added to the list of stuff that I think about when we're dancing. But if I see myself in the mirror or on video and I realize that it just looks like I look like a gargoyle when I am dancing, okay, well that is painful. Painful enough that I'm gonna remember to fix it every time, and I'm gonna correct my bad habits way faster. So suddenly, I don't just have one more to do on my plate, I have a clear reason why I should fix what's going on, and a really easy way to remember it when it comes up. And that's the exact moment I see in my students too. The second they start analyzing their own paintings, they don't need me to tell them what's wrong. They see it. And once you see it, your corrections make way more sense. The artists who improve the fastest, whether in dance, in painting, any creative skill, they aren't the ones who are just waiting on a teacher's correction. They're the ones actively looking for what to refine. And I get that self-critique is tough. So here's how I make it easier on myself and my students. 1, set a clear vision for your painting. What exactly is it that you're trying to achieve? When my students have a clear vision of the kind of art they want to make, it is so much easier for me to see just where the differences are between a technically proficient painting and a painting that they're going to be truly excited about and proud of. Just yesterday, I was talking with Stephanie, who's been a wonderful, dedicated student. Following my program, she's put together a clear vision for where she wants to take her work. She's followed the exercises that I've given her to build up the exact techniques needed to paint in that way. And now she's solely focused on turning this into a body of work. So when she reached out to me this week asking, how do I make a good painting into a great painting? What am I missing? Well, this actually brings me to number 2, which is you need to have the right reference. So in Stephanie's case, if I just looked at her painting, I would say she did a great job. But once I could compare that painting to the kind of artwork that inspires her, I knew something was up. And once I could compare that to her reference, it became clear. The piece she was trying to make didn't match her vision for her goal. She was working off of the reference she already had versus a reference that was tailored to exactly what she'd been practicing up until this point and what would actually make her feel like she was making great artwork. So we talked about how to either update her vision to show her how to make this kind of painting, or how to adjust her planning process to make sure that her references and her plan for her pieces are a better fit for the kind of artwork she already knows she's gonna love. And this brings me to number 3, which is to remove emotion. Think like a scientist and not a critic. If Stephanie or I had let ourselves get caught up in frustration, it would be really easy to feel stuck. Stephanie might ask why her hard work wasn't paying off, and I'd ask why she got this far and wasn't satisfied. But instead, because we had these clear data points in the form of her goal and her reference, it was actually really easy to pinpoint her issue. It wasn't about her skills or her dedication or her potential. It was about a small planning step that simply had sent her off course. And because we investigated this with curiosity, like scientists trying to solve a puzzle, she came away from our conversation feeling energized and confident instead of desperate or dejected. When you stop taking critique personally and you start treating it as data, it's when the real growth gets to happen. And it's not just me and it's not just Stephanie. Most of the time when students come to me asking for feedback on their oil paintings, as soon as they upload their painting to me side by side with their reference and their goal, the mistakes become crystal clear to them. They say, "Ooh, I see now that the forehead is too high," or "I let my values under the jaw get too light and so the color became chalky there." And what I always tell them is that they're better coaches than they give themselves credit for. They have more wisdom than they probably believe. They're seeing the same things I am, and better yet, they often know exactly what has to happen to fix it too. So I tell them to use it. When they're stuck, I tell them to look at their work next to their reference and their inspiration as if they were about to get my critique. Inevitably, they'll see what the problem is and they'll get unstuck. And if they aren't sure how to solve it, will be able to hit the ground running so that I can offer them suggestions even more quickly because we're already on the same page. And that's when the real improvement starts to happen really quickly, because they're actually starting to think like the professional artist they want to be, rather than using me, their coach, as a crutch. So if you've been avoiding really looking at your artwork, whether we're talking about painting or dance or anything else, I'm going to challenge you. Record it. Step back. See what's really there. And if you want help learning how to see your paintings with an objective eye, that's exactly what I guide my students through in my program. I'd love to help you do the same thing if loosening up your oil paintings is your goal. Check out the link in the description to book a call to see if working together would be a great fit for both of us. But I hope today's pep talk was what you've been needing. Let me know in the comments how you're planning on putting this into action. And until next time, happy painting.